You know what's said about things escalating quickly? Like everything does here. The Volvo is as well. I ain't complaining, but yeah, Thomas always says I'm a bad influence on him, but he's a bad influence on me as well when it comes to this shit. That there is the intercooler that's always been on the car since before I bought it. And, you know, it's a fair size, but it's still a bit small for my liking. Wow, too small. So I was like, you know what, I want to see if I can fit a bigger one. And Thomas's first word straight away was, you've got that massive GTR drag one upstairs, just fit that. It's like, yeah, but it ain't got to fit. He's like, well, make it fit. It's like, alright, fair enough. So I just placed it in place. And he's like, I was like, yeah, it fits, but things will have to get moved. He's like, well, that's easy. Just put the radiator in the boot. I was like, he goes, yeah, it's easy, why not? I was like, alright. And don't forget, I've already cut a hole in the boot before for other stuff. Well, I felt like it. So ideal, really. So yeah, radiator will be going there. So yeah, massive intercooler sits very nicely there after a bit of cutting and hammering. Sort of sits actually further forward than the radiator does by a little bit, because that there is the standard radiator position. So yeah, even more room. I might see if I can bin off the ABS. I mean, I don't really need to. The battery's gonna have to go in the boot, but again, no big deal. And I prefer it anyway because it's a pain in the ass there. It would be easy enough to just pipe there to the inlet manifold, but I'll speak to Thomas and see how hard it would be to fuck about and remove this, just so the piping's a bit easier. Although, to be honest, it won't be that much easier because the throttle body's like there also, so yeah, it don't matter too much. But yeah, things are rapidly going fucking bananas. But yeah, 5-inch thick GTR drag intercooler, 2.5-inch thick piece of shit. And I was seeing big pressure drops between, like, I never tested before the throttle body, but I'm pretty sure it's not the throttle body, it was a restriction. But I've tested compressor outlet to inlet manifold, and the boost at the compressor outlet is way higher than the inlet manifold. And it's quite possible, I know there's no leaks, I've tested it, it's quite possible it's that thing restricting it, because it's got like next to no end tank even, never mind the fact it's fucking pretty small. So yeah, that's going, that's replacing it, radiator's going in the back, shit's getting extra crazy. Right, engine's out. I thought it'd take like 2 minutes, but it turned out, wow, I tried to remove it, it wouldn't completely separate engine and box. It's like, what the fuck? And it reminded me of, on certain cars, Subarus, RX-7s, I think it's only things with pull clutches, the clutch isn't disengaging, you know, from the box. It just won't come apart, and it's a fucking nightmare on them. You have to undo various things, and it's a right fuck about. But it felt like it on this, and it's like, I'm pretty sure that ain't the problem. So yeah, rather than risk fucking it up, I thought I'd better check. And it turns out, while that problem, due to the stupid clutch setup on those cars, isn't a thing on these, it should be conventional, what people seem to fail to mention when you take these fuckers apart is, because the input shaft's fairly long on the gearbox, the it's a fucker to separate because of the height of the bulkhead. The way the engine comes out, it's at a dodgy angle, so the clutch and the input shaft, the splines, won't separate properly, and it's a fuck about. And that's where some people's like, yeah, it's just easier to take the engine and gearbox off at the same time. But I was told previously, you know, either or don't make no difference. Now I kind of wish I'd just done it all at once, but doing it this way, it wasn't much harder. Now I realise that, because all you had to do, really, no one said, but it was pretty obvious, is I just got a jack. Thankfully I've got a really fucking low jack to get into this car, and put it under the gearbox to get the angle closer, and as soon as you do that, poof, it's off, easy. But yeah, prior to that it was like, what the fuck, why isn't it's coming off? I mean, you could literally, engine will be, you know, well off the mount, there's nothing holding it in place, and you could practically take a fucking run up at the engine crane, but it wasn't enough to pull it off because it was just stuck to the splines. But it's off now, job done, didn't wreck anything, and happy days. Now I need to nick a few parts off this, mostly clutch and flywheel and stuff, and water pump for the other engine. And I suppose I better look what's wrong with this one as well, and clean up this engine bay as well somehow, because it's disgusting. This is what 200 odd thousand miles of abuse looks like. Yeah, then whack it all back together. Weather's lovely lately, so I fucking really want to get it going. It's pissing me off it not working at the moment, and it's only been about a week. Right, so all stripped down, clutch is off, all the bits and pieces and stuff I need for the new engine's off. Clutch looks healthy, so I'm going to reuse that. Engine bay is disgusting, but you know, that can be cleaned. But then Thomas turned up, and we was talking about stuff, and he was saying about how good it's going to be and everything, and I was like, yeah. I goes, the main thing that's going to be holding it back is just the standard ECU. He's like, well, fuck it, put the proper one on then. And I was like, ain't it going to be just a load of time and trouble? He's like, yeah, well, not really, and it'll be worth it. I was like, yeah, good point. So I think this is time to finally put the proper ECU in it. I say proper, it's only a Speedwino, it's not like fucking, you know, Motec M800. But still, something that's actually mappable, and something that uses a map sensor, not a MAF. And while I'm at it, I'm gonna fuck the ABS off, because again, bullshit. So yeah, escalation once again. Fucking hell. Projects, too many projects. Found these in the one of the loom plugs in the Volvo, and you probably can't tell, but that is a bee's, well, egg, larva, whatever you want to call it. They were in them, in the spare holes. I guess it looks like a bee's nest, so they thought, fuck it, I'm gonna breed some bees in the fucking engine loom. There you go. Yeah, I'm currently stripping out unneeded wires, and the answer is most of them. It's relatively simple so far, because thankfully this engine is not that complicated, so it's pretty obvious what's needed and what's not. And to make it even easier, I'm generally leaving anything that is needed plugged in, so I don't forget what the fuck it all is. But most of it ain't needed. To all the people that make all the comments saying, oh, I don't know why you stick with the stock ECU, I don't know why you don't just wire in an aftermarket one, blah blah blah, quicker and easier and less trouble. Welcome to reality. So sorting all this shit out, it's easier than, and wiring in something new is easier than just changing some chips, is it? No. But it's being done now, so I gotta suffer with it. Do I know what I'm doing? Well, sort of. Honestly, it might be easier just to fucking literally rip out all the wiring of the entire car and start again. But I'm going to try and keep the other shit working. But there's so much on this car, it's not even ever been plugged in because it's not needed, that probably 70% of the wiring at least is just surplus to requirements. But the hardest thing is working out what the fuck is what. So yeah. It's better be worth it in the end. Right, it's another day. Nice day too. And yeah, I better get on with this wiring. It looks obviously a slightly less of a disaster zone now I've tied it up a bit. I mean, I knew it wasn't a disaster zone because I you know, I could see what I was doing, but it did look bad. But yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still a massive jumble of wires, but you've got little option on this cars because you've got two ECUs, you've got a loom that's intertwined, so you ain't got like a separate engine and body loom. The engine, the charging, the body loom, everything is kind of intertwined into each other, so you can't just separate one from the other. You can't just make a, you know, an adapter loom and run off the standard stuff. It literally is a case of pulling out the wires and you know, either leaving what you don't need there or doing what I'm going to try and do and rip it out to make things as simple as possible. But yeah, on these it's not the easiest task in the world, but fuck it, I've started now, so it's tough shit. So time to get on with it. Change of plan in a good way. Basically, James that owns JSR Autos next door, so like MOTs, stuff like that. He normally just does MOTs, but he's also well into his cars. He does tractor pulling, and he's, you know, he's got like a tuned C63 SAMG, all sorts of shit. And he just popped over to grab a tyre, and we was talking about this, and he's like, I don't know why you should just start from scratch. And it's like, I was like, you know what, I was kind of thinking that, but I don't really like wires. So, and he's like, well, the thing is, I've done it before. He's done it to Land Rovers and stuff before, because obviously he's always messed with old Land Rovers, and obviously the wiring that's fucked. And when he's built camper vans again, and he helped build a Fiesta rally car for somebody, and again it's the same. And he explained it all to me and what he's doing, and it's like, fuck yeah, I could have done most of that in the time it took me yesterday to carefully strip down these wires and work out what's what. You know, what he suggested is actually way simpler in the long run, which is what I want, simplified. So it's like, yeah, holy shit, why am I even bothering? So yeah, now I am going to literally remove pretty much every fucking wire from this car and start from nothing, because literally this car's a bare bones race car, so it doesn't need much. I can still run electric windows, that's not a problem, it just won't be off the standard switches probably. You know, front and rear lights, windows, horn, indicators, you know, practically nothing. So yeah, fucking yeah, I wish I'd have spoke to him about it yesterday, but I didn't even think of it, to be honest. I was just getting on with it. But yeah, he's done loads of this kind of stuff before, and he's like, yes, it's be way easier. So say goodbye to all this shit, because things are about to get much better. As an example of wiring overkill, this is driver's door wiring that I don't need. This is what I do need: 2 wires for the electric window. All of this lot, which is that many wires, don't need. Crazy how many wires this car has that we don't need. And yeah, job done. I mean, it's going to be a good weight saving by the end of this. And about an hour later, job done. That pile is going in the bin. This little lot, some of it I'll be reusing, some of it I'll be selling, hardly anything. But this lot, I'll weigh it in a minute, but it feels 20 odd kilos. It's quite a lot, as you might imagine. I mean, like big bits like the ABS block, that's not the heavy thing. The heavy thing is just the pure wire. But yeah, all done. There is pretty much no more wire left. Much better. I wish I would have done this yesterday, because I've wasted a good half a day and pickling my brain doing very complicated wire sorting, where in reality, fuck it. You know, on a car like that, you know, it's fair enough if you're making a car that is OEM, but this is like the most stripped out basic race car going. So why the fuck was I doing that? Basically, it's one of those chocolate to experience things again. Another reason why you should surround yourself with positive people rather than negative people. Generally I do, but I mean, in the past, I've mentioned it before, I sold a car once that I've regretted ever since, purely because the most negative person ever was a friend, and he was like, oh, I think you should get rid of it before it breaks, blah 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 blah, you know, whatever. But like, thankfully, James from next door popped over, and it's not like he's like just some random idiot. He owns a garage and he's an MOT tester, but he's also built lots of sort of off-roady and rally cars and so on, and converted things to campers and whatever. And straight away he's like, yeah, you know, easy, buy this, buy that, show me all the links. And it's literally like, you know, kit car, race fuse boxes and this, that, the other. They're like fucking 15 quid. It's like, why am I even worrying about the OEM stuff when I'm not using hardly any of it? So rather than, you know, wonder and sort of, you know, using all my fucking sort of brains yesterday trying to figure out what wires do what and where, and what could I keep and what could I get rid of, and you know, it's like, well, fuck it, chuck it all away and start again, so you've got the bare minimum and you know exactly what's what. Because there's no way I would have got it down to only the wires I needed. I would have basically got it down to a level of like, yeah, that'd do, and there'd have just been a ton of like surplus to requirement shit. But now it really is gonna be all I need and nothing else, which is exactly what I wanted. Just because I'd never done that before, it didn't, you know, spring to mind to do it the way James said to do it. But I'm fucking glad I've done it now, so happy days. You know, there's still gonna be all the things I've ever had in this car, just for a lot less weight and a lot less complication, which means repairs and upgrades and changes in the future will be even easier. So yeah, good times. Now I better weigh all that shit I've removed. I mean, potentially there's more. I've kept quite a few bits and pieces, like it's the standard clocks and blah blah blah, because I still got to work out what I'm going to reuse, but all that over there is definitely no longer needed. Alright, find a big cardboard box. I put it all in. Well, I say all of it, not really all of it, but that lot weighs fuck all. This is the heaviest bit. This is the scales. Just picked it up then. I reckon about, I don't think 20 kilos. Now I've picked it all up together. I'm going with 12 to 15, I reckon, but we will see. Okay, wow, actually weighs more than I thought. I said 20, and then when I picked up a minute ago, I changed my estimate to 12, 15. 21.9 kilos. Pretty much 22 kilos of mostly wire. For you Americans and stuff, if any of you actually watch this, that's 48.4 kilos. No, 48.4 pounds. So yeah, 50 odd pounds of wire. Yeah, 21.9 kilos for us people who understand kilos. So yeah, that's quite a lot. It's very significant, more than I imagined. So yeah, another added bonus. Just did a little bit more metal chopping at the front to make the intercooler sit exactly where I want it to, and yeah, it's bang on now. It sits basically exactly where the radiator used to. You can see that's the rear radiator mount. What I've done is remove this piece of metal there. I say metal because before I owned it, the previous owner had proper smashed the shit out of that front bit just to get the pipe work for that little intercooler that was already on it to fit, and it was dog shit. So it was dog shit, but also preventing me fitting this. So I just removed it, which obviously makes it super floppy, but removing it has given me loads of room that I will just weld a bar to there to make a completely stiff, again, front stand panel, like stiffer than it's ever been since I've owned the car, but while also making loads of room. So that's one thing sorted, and obviously gives a bit more clearance between the engine and the front of the car now as well, because this intercooler is sitting, I don't know, inch or so further forward than the radiator used to. So yeah, good times, while at the same time the front mounter used to be there ended a lot more forward than this, so this actually makes better weight distribution as well, to be fair. So yeah, that's that. I think I'm just gonna wait to weld those bits in. I don't think it really matters yet. Just gonna leave it, sort some other stuff first. But yeah, another little problem solved.